And we're back.
We're back. Oh my goodness.
People are back with us.
You know, we've been gone for so long. I'll be surprised and pleasantly pleased if anybody shows up. If not, hey, hi during the replay. We do know that one of our longtime viewers, Earl, won't be able to join us today due to, like, I don't know, work or something.
Lame.
I know, crazy. But if you are here watching, hello, welcome. BC's here. We know we can count on him. That's fantastic.
Hey,
hello.
BC, I wore a T-shirt just for him. I wonder if he can see this, but I'm gonna show him my T-shirt.
Okay. Meanwhile, I'll introduce us. This is the Zócalo. This is your one-stop shop for all things Babylon 5. And I'm Char. The dude with the shirt is Norm. This episode.
Yep. Don't worry, he'll get it. He knows this.
Okay. He just said yes.
Yeah. It's a nod to a TV show called Space 1999, and in the opening credits, they do this kind of like amalgamation of really quick shots of the episode, and it just says, like, every time, like every once in a while, it flashes this episode.
Oh, that's fantastic. I have yet to watch Space 1999. I've got so much to watch, anymore. We have company. I'm very pleased.
Me too.
This warms my heart. Hello, Terry Lynn. Hello, Patrick. Thank you so much for joining us.
Nice to have you all here.
It feels like a long break, but really a lot has happened in that time.
That's
nationally,
right.
We've had a lot of things going on. And then in your life, you have moved from one coast to the other, sort of.
Yeah.
You want to very briefly bring everybody to speed on what's been happening?
Sure. So on December 27th, Carol and I, we sold our house. That was the closing day of the house. And, between, I'd probably say a few months before that, we were packing up and getting the house ready for sale, and escrow closed on the 27th. So on December 27th to December 31st, we packed up everything, including 2 rabbits and 2 cats, and we moved into a hotel. I'm getting to that, Terry Lynn. I'm getting to it. Wait for it. We packed up the 2 cats and the 2 bunnies, and we stayed in a hotel that allowed pets. And we were there for 4 days so that Carol could finish up work here. So on December 31st, that was a Thursday, New Year's Eve day, we started our drive from Southern California to Gainesville, Florida. And our first drive was from here to Tucson, Arizona. That was the first stop. So we spent New Year's Eve in Tucson. And the second day was Tucson to San Antonio, Texas, where we stayed there on New Year's Day. The third day was from San Antonio to Pensacola, Florida, where on that drive, I drove through 5 states.
Wow.
Yeah. So Texas for the majority of it. And then
I believe it.
That's right. Texas, I think it was Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, and then Florida. Oh, wait. Yeah, Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida. So that was 5 states. And, I was like basically darting through like the southernmost tips of those states all the way to across the panhandle into Florida, and then right into Pensacola. And then on the 4th day, we went to Pensacola to Gainesville. And between now and then, it's just been like kind of like packing, unpacking, trying to adjust to life there. And once I finally started getting comfortable there, a week ago today, I flew back here to Southern California to finish up my work contract that ends in March 31st. So Terry Lynn, the bunnies are in Florida. Carol's in Florida. My cats, Cookie and Spike, are in Florida. And
you're here.
Looking at them from a screen 3,000 miles away.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. But it looks like you're holding up, and it's not forever.
Right.
And I'm glad you're able to come back, because you and I still need to have our get-together and do some socially distant burritos.
Gosh, that would be so awesome. Yeah, that'll happen.
We must. We must.
We will.
We weren't able to do it before the holidays because you were understandably very busy. Because moving across the country and closing on a house, that's a big deal. That's a lot of work.
It was crazy. And, the funny thing is, I told Carol, because there's a lot of stress going on, and I said, one of these days, we're going to have a chance to kind of like take a deep breath, step back from all of this, kind of take a look at what we've done. And I just can't believe that, we've gotten to this moment where now I'm looking back on that whole process. Driving across country, I was like, how's this going to go?
Sure.
But it went.
Yeah.
It's gone. It's behind me.
It
That
happened.
is behind me. The future's in front of me. If you value your future, be somewhere else.
Well done. Well done. Oh man, yes. I want to say hi to Mountains of Elysium, who has joined us. Hello.
Welcome.
So good to be back. Oh my gosh, I missed you guys. Even though we are on Discord, it's just not the same. I don't know. There's something about live. It's like when you hear a song on the radio, you've heard it a million times, but when you hear that song that you love and it's on the radio, you just have that freak out moment of, oh my God, I love this song, or is that just me?
Nope. But I did. I was able to move this poster into my office, which is,
the one in the background
forever.
Yow. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. That's the huge Babylon 5 poster. So yeah, I knock over everything on my table. Also, I had to bring things with me so that my stay here in my office would be comfortable. So, of course, my spirit animal came with me.
Oh, good. You've got your car with you. Well, you know what? That's going to get you through. That'll get you through anything.
Yes. Well, Terry Lynn, I'm not in the bloodiest hotel, although it's very easy for me to hide bodies in that Airbnb because there's this really interesting. So when I was looking, I was doing my cursory disinfecting and sanitizing, and in my closet there was this interesting kind of like this latch and kind of like a piece of pressure particle board.
Oh,
so I flipped the latch, opened it up, and there's this huge crawl space in there, and I did flash my flashlight in there just to take a look around, but it's just storage space
for bodies.
For bodies,
if necessary,
drugs, things of that nature, alcohol.
Well, there you go. Now we're talking.
An underground bunny, adoption agency. Who knows?
The possibilities are endless, Norm.
Possibilities are endless. I know. It's like my room is a TARDIS. I'm just finding all the different rooms.
There you go. It's a TARDIS. Too bad it can't actually be timey-wimey, and you could, maybe vasculate a little more between Florida and California. But wouldn't
that be nice?
Wouldn't it?
Ladies and gentlemen, I have missed this woman to pieces.
I have missed you. Oh my gosh, seeing your face and hearing your voice. Oh man, I've been looking forward to this for a solid week at least.
Maybe we should if we missed each other so much, maybe we should I don't know, do a show, record it, and put it on YouTube. Just to see each other from time to time.
I mean, I guess
something like that.
What would we talk about?
I don't know. Voyager.
Well, we could. You got to get back to watching Voyager, but no. We are here to talk Babylon 5, and we have never shied away from current events, and we have talked a little bit about what's happening, especially in the U.S. This is a very U.S.-centric show. This is a very liberal-centric show, so if this is not for you, hey, look, you've got freedom of choice to skip this one and tune into another thing. We are going to be talking about a lot of the things that are happening in our world. We had an attempted coup on our Capitol on January 6th in the United States of America.
Unreal.
Wow.
Right?
I mean, it's not a surprise that it happened because it was always possible. And yet, when I came home that day, I had an appointment in the morning, came home to eat some lunch and just catch up, on Twitter and then the headlines, just the usual junk. And suddenly the screen pops up and then it's a live feed of, you've seen the photos. You know what I'm talking about. And I couldn't peel away for a long time. And then you messaged me about 10 minutes later. It's like, are you seeing this? I'm like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It got far worse than I thought it would be. And it turns out it could have been even worse than it was. Now we're learning that.
I know. And before we get into that, so we don't buck tradition.
Hey, what are you drinking? Since you're in your office, I imagine supplies are a little different, limited?
Oh, no. Actually, my entire bar is with me.
Oh, you have it in your office?
Nice. I do, but I'm not drinking today. Not right now because I got to see how I feel about drinking because I have to from the office and then I have to drive home, which is not home, but to my Airbnb.
To your room, yeah.
Which is an additional 10 minutes away. So now my commute to work is 20 minutes as opposed to 8 minutes.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and better safe than sorry. For the record, I'm just drinking water today. I don't have my beverage because I'm not drinking right now. I've just kind of stopped. 2020 was a year of a lot of vodka for me, as it was for a lot of us, having a lot of quarantinis and whatnot. And I just started not feeling great.
Quarantinis? I've never heard that before.
Oh, you haven't? Oh man, I use that all the time. But no, I drank a lot more than usual in 2020. I just it started to feel it and notice it on my body, and just putting on weight and not feeling my best. And so, you know what? No, it doesn't have that power over me. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get some health back. Take better care of myself.
Good. Don't let that depression beat you. That's how we fight back.
Well, I was using it to just kind of try and relax a little bit, but too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
Well, so this is the Val 2 for 2021. Thank you for joining us. This is season 3 for us now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Val 2.
Val 2.
Okay.
All right. Now, getting back to it.
Yes, we are in the process in the United States of America of trumping President Clark, as you titled the show, meaning he's on his way out, whether he likes it or not. We will have an inauguration on Wednesday, and so help me if anything happens.
Now, fingers crossed it doesn't.
Right? So we are here to talk about that and how Babylon 5 pulled all the stuff out of the history books, portrayed this very scenario that we are living yet again. And, Babylon 5 never ceases to amaze in that regard.
Right?
Yeah.
It was like ridiculously prophetic. But at the same time, though, understanding Joe's background and understanding how he grew up and what he saw, I think that he has a better understanding of how cyclical history is and the signs of where things will eventually go, at least once or twice in the history of one's lifetime. And I think that when he wrote the storyline for President Clark, starting with the assassination of President Santiago in year 1, and then it's kind of like it's apropos because we're at the new year and now we're going into a new regime change,
right?
Of sorts. But then
fairly
President
close in time.
Exactly. Now President Clark coming in began, and this is the parallel to President Trump. When President Clark came into power, that is when the influence of the Home Guard and the Nightwatch started to take a little bit more effect within the universe of Babylon 5. And this is from an anti-alien, xenophobic, pro-Earth centric standpoint. And we got to see that a little bit with, again, like the mishigash of like Home Guard type of references. But then it really became formalized in Nightwatch.
Yes.
Proud Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different names, but more or less the same kind of thing. And maybe the big difference, I don't know, Joe didn't really get into necessarily conspiracy theory type stuff with Nightwatch and President Clark and his regime and all of that. But you can say that he did work with a manufactured reality. So in that sense, they're kind of the same.
Well, they're a tool, much like the Nazis had the brown shirts or the SS or the secret police, the Gestapo.
True.
You had layers of these fascist infiltration organizations that would try and find ways to infiltrate or undermine any type of divisiveness against them. So that's where I think, and he knew that too. I mean, his father was a Nazi, right? So, or a Nazi sympathizer, because he wasn't a true Nazi. But,
no, he wanted to be.
Right.
Yeah. No,
so
it's true. That and Joe is such a good student of history. He has studied, he's seen these patterns, he's made the connections and then folded them into Babylon 5.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say hi to Super Dave real quick because he's joined us. And hello.
Nice. Wow.
Nice to see you. Yeah. We got all the regulars here except for Earl, who let us know that he could not be here. And we miss you, but we hope to see you next time.
Well, you know what? not to get too off track because you did such a great job with the notes here, but let's kind of like go through starting with Earl and what Earl wrote in.
Yeah, I want to start off with the question that Earl wrote in Discord. Just before the show, I'm glad I popped in to say, hey, we're going to go live, because then otherwise I wouldn't have seen it. But all right, a lot of people have wondered, is Orange 45 more like Cartagia or President Clark? We're saying President Clark so far, but let's consider this. Let's work through this and see. I mean, is it either or both? Where do we land with all of this? Oh, we have a new person too. Hello, Ben Moss Woodward from the UK. It is late for you.
Welcome.
Hello,
welcome.
Please don't stay up too late, okay? Get some sleep.
Yes,
you can always catch the replay.
Exactly. Char's on top of it. So, that's an interesting point that Earl brings up, because one of the reasons why I wanted to focus more on Clark and Trump is because the direct parallel is there. You're dealing with Earth, i.e. the United States government. You're dealing with the civil war that Clark's regime created, and the way that Trump has created this division between anti-Trumpists and pro-Trumpists, and
wanting to create a civil war.
Exactly. And we are, a lot of people believe that we're getting to that point, but there are obvious other similarities too, with xenophobia, the progression into undermining the authority of the media, taking over the propaganda. I mean, everything kind of rolled out the same way that, Hitler, Goebbels, Goering, and all of his top officials curated the way that people were either forced to believe their rhetoric versus the truth, journalism, and science of their time, much like ours. So that's why, we thought that the direct parallel was there.
Yes. So I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate, where, initially I think we thought that 45's regime would be a little more Cartagia-esque. It would be flippant. It would be flamboyant. It would be, oh God, what'd he say today? I can't believe he said that. Just outrageous. And yet, a lot of atrocities behind the scenes. Not even really behind the scenes. A lot of this was hiding in plain sight, if I may steal a phrase from Sarah Kendzior, who says that a lot. The thing is it started out that way, but I think we've definitely veered into President Clark territory, hands down, where it was evil from the start. It's just that not everybody saw it. I think anybody who in 2016 said, oh, this guy wants to destroy the government, gut it from the inside out, commit all sorts of horrible things and what have you. And a lot of times people would say, well, come on, you're just being a doomsdayer. Don't be so extreme. It'll be fine. No, we were right.
Well, what the thing is with Trump in 2016 is that for some reason, people believed that him becoming the Republican nominee for the president would in some way legitimize the celebrity and the checkered past that he had in the media. And I don't know why they would think that, because this is a man who has built an entire empire on the obfuscation and the manipulation of truth, and the sensationalism of his own media empire, and the narcissistic persona that has been built up because of that. So why do people think that just because he was voted by not the majority, remember?
He lost the popular vote. Thank you very much.
So he won the electoral, which is why he fought so hard to change the electoral this time, because he damn well lost the popular big time in this election.
He knew that was the only way he could make this work, and just, did not give up. BC has broken down his percentage, by the way, in the comments, and I love this. 65% Cartagia, that's the narcissism, I think. 30% Clark, that's the evil, and then 5% Cheetos, that's the spray tan. Yeah, I would say 5% is a pretty good estimate. There's a lot there. Very good, BC. Yes. Yeah. So, I mean,
So,
yeah.
so I guess back to the point is, what did people think? What did they expect would happen? Like I said, a friend of mine, when in 2016, when we were going through the normal office rigmarole of who you're going to vote for, I said, well, I'm going to vote, for not Trump. At the time, I wasn't really kind of like, I didn't really have Hillary on my mind at the time, but someone said, he goes, who are you going to vote for? I'm going to vote for Trump. And I'm like, why? And he's like, well, because he's a fresh perspective. He's going to drain the swamp. He's not a politician. I go, I understand that. But they go, why are you going to...
That was refreshing for a lot of people, thinking that maybe this would take things into a different direction, which I guess they did, just not a good one.
Right. And my rationale for not voting for him was this. I said, imagine, if you will, that you or someone that you love was on an emergency room table and needed immediate surgery to save their life. Who would you rather have? Someone that you didn't like, that had a documented list of accolades of this particular operation that you needed or your loved one needed, or somebody who just says they're really good at it? When your life is not
actual proof,
with no
as opposed to decades of expertise. Right. Yeah. Even if you don't like that doctor, why did you go with that doctor?
That was my rationale. So that's my rationale for anything that I look at when it comes to some type of electoral, is that I may not like the person specifically, personally, or professionally, but what do they bring to the table that is applicable to the position? In this case, the most powerful seat in the democratic free world.
Yeah, kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
Kind of affects a lot of things. I mean, whether we deserve it or not at this point in history, the United States has a lot of influence on how the rest of the world runs and acts.
Yeah. So that's where we're kind of getting at with Trump. It's not that he was not just unqualified, he was uneducated in the process of civics, of
like everything,
of public service, you know, and of how the Hill runs. There is a certain rhythm and a certain pattern and a certain way things are done on Capitol Hill.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. And, a lot of people didn't want business as usual, but the alternative was someone who had no idea what they were doing and exaggerated what little expertise they might possibly bring to the table. And people bought it, thinking, yeah, we'll give that a try. Well, the results have been disastrous.
Right. And
now, what's on my mind? I mean, I don't want to cut you off. Do you have a thought?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, what's going through my mind? Somebody brought this up in the comments. Now that we're heading into inauguration week, I'm thinking about the episode No Compromises a lot, because John Sheridan's inauguration, there was a guy who wanted to assassinate him during that process. And I'm thinking a lot about how President-elect Biden is responding, where he's just basically saying, these guys are not going to tear me down. I am not going to have my inauguration at some secure, undisclosed location. And to be honest, my chicken ass shit would, my chicken shit ass would, because I've, just why run the risk? But no, he's like, we're going to continue and we're going to do this. And that's what John Sheridan did. A lot of people, I don't want to equate Biden with John Sheridan, though, because it's not a good idea to be, we can't be counting on him to be our savior and get us out of all of this mess. And I don't know if the person who we were talking to on Twitter is watching or not, but we had an exchange with somebody who listens to the show, or at least is aware of it, and said, we all have to be John Sheridan. Yeah, I think I said that after the election. You are John Sheridan. I am John Sheridan. All of us who voted are John Sheridan. And we are the ones who have to stand up for truth, for facts, for reality, frankly.
Well, I mean, to represent, kind of like our friends from over the pond that are joining us. I mean, it's very much like, what Alan Moore did in V for Vendetta. Like, everybody is V. Everybody is has the ability to, if they believe and if they want to support the movement of resistance, that is how resistances are done. That's how change is done. That's how you create history. And back in February and October of 1917, you had the February and October Russian revolutions. And those revolutions changed the world. Those revolutions changed history because every one of those people became a revolutionary because you had to. There was no other choice. And if something happens, God forbid, or the universe forbid, something happens on January 20th, one, Kamala Harris steps up because that is her position to do so. Two, the spirit of democracy and the spirit of wanting to return the United States to a democratic society that believes in science, that believes in education, that believes in journalism, that believes in truth and facts, everything that will
save us.
Everything that is antithetical to the Trump regime. I do believe that there will be a fight for that. And it's very well possible that this may start a giant schism. I'm not going to say it's going to start a civil war. I don't really have that kind of that kind of future cognizance of it, but there will be a shift in the way that people address each other in this country. And you know what, Char? Maybe it's time for that.
If there is a time, now is the time. We are at, I would say, a breaking point where I agree with you. I don't think we are quite on the brink of civil war. At least I really hope not. But we need to address a lot of the problems that have created the environment that we're in right now. We need to address racial inequality. We need to address economic equality. Those two things are intertwined. We have so many things that we have to work on. We have to get back to just decency. That's how low of a bar we're at right now. And if we don't, we very well could be succumbing to war. We very well could succumb to an even better authoritarian who isn't going to do things in such plain sight, who's going to be a lot smarter about it, a lot sneakier about it. Hitler didn't take power in one day, as the comments are mentioning. Thank you, Ben, for mentioning stuff like that. Do we want that to happen here? This is where we decide. How we respond to what has happened so far is going to set that course. So we got to do the right thing here. If we actually care about the democracy that we have and we want to preserve it and we want to live in a world not of tyranny, well, we got to do the work. We do have a lot of healing to do. I kind of hate that phrase right now because it's so overused, but that's going to come through a lot of difficult conversations. And we've all got to own up to where we both have strength and failures because we're all a part of this.
And I think that the next point, that you put here is probably one of the most important things. We need to get the media back on track.
Yes. Okay. My husband teaches journalism, disclaimer, and we both worked in the journalism world. But you know what? I have criticisms of the media as well as praise because they have a very difficult job. Their job is to gather facts and report them with as little bias as possible. But there's a lot to that process. I'm going to try and be as brief about this as I can. I could get my husband on here and he could lecture you all day. We won't do that. And he would love it. Maybe we'll do that sometime. But this is like Norm, if you have to skip out for a week, maybe I could have him as a guest and I'll just let him take the camera. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, okay, we have the other side here that is basically going off of a manufactured reality that has an agenda that they're listening to, right? And it completely derives from what the rest of us are saying. And they would say that our media, the mainstream media, whatever you want to call it, the fact-based journalism is also manufactured because they get to decide what we know. Whatever they uncover and whatever they report is what we know. And we don't know what we don't know. That is a valid point. However, the difference is real journalists don't go with a slant, which is why really I don't like any cable news networks because they do have a slant. They are catering to an audience. You should not cater to an audience when you're a real journalist. You gather your facts, you report on the facts, and you don't really care whose agenda it serves or doesn't. And you do not tell your readers or your viewers how to think or what to think. You just put it out there and you let them come to their own decision about what that means and what they want to do about it, if anything. So it's also important to remember with journalism that when journalists don't get things right, because we are in a very fast-paced world, journalism, and this is a quote, journalism is the first rough draft of history. That's attributed to Philip Graham, who was a former Washington Post president and publisher. Other people have said a lot of similar things, but I'm going to go just with him. When they do make an error, good, reputable journalist organizations correct and learn from their mistakes. They admit that they were wrong. So that, in my definition, is real journalism.
The interesting thing about the Trump and Clark similarities here when it comes to the media is that, and this was, I really should remember who said this in Babylon 5, and I do believe it was either Sinclair or Sheridan.
Okay.
But they said, in war, the first casualty is the truth.
That sounds very much like a Sinclair quote, but I could be wrong.
But
viewers, what do you got?
It's very applicable here.
Very much.
I told
that's
Carol,
what he's trying to do. That's what 45 and his cronies are trying to do, you know?
I said that probably the most effective thing that Trump ever did at the very beginning of his presidency was to dismantle the trust of the media. Because when you control the flow of information, you control the momentum of your position, your ability to be able to persuade and to maneuver the body populace into believing or disbelieving what you want, because you have undermined and delegitimized science. You've undermined and dismantled the public trust in the news. In the one thing that everyone has in common is they talk about what was the news. It's as common as talking about the weather, as the icebreaker in conversation. What did you see on the news today? What did you read? How do you feel about that? And that, coupled with just basically his bombardment of Twitter and social media, he played probably that hand the strongest in his regime. His social media campaign and his war against the truth and against facts and against reality was superb. I'll give him credit for that. It really was. And it did the exact thing that it needed to do.
It unfortunately worked. And we also have had a breakdown in our educational system for a long time in this country. And critical thinking, it's just, people aren't even aware that, what that is. Hate to say, kids get taught facts. Kids get taught what to know, not how to analyze and think about what they know. So there's also the breakdown in education, and further dismantled by our former Secretary of Education. Oh, good God. And so that also furthers it, where people aren't really thinking about what they're hearing, whether it's truth or not. And so then when you have things like Fox News and One America News Network, and I forget the other ones, if you just take that at face value and you believe it, suddenly you have what, as Patrick pointed out, #alternative facts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The manufactured reality. It's as real to them as our reality is as real to them, as to us.
One of my favorite on-screen comedians / journalists is Trevor Noah, who I think is absolutely brilliant. He's on Comedy Central.
Yes.
He does it's a daily show. He took over for Jon Stewart.
That's right.
And he has one of his roving reporters does a skit, and it's basically just kind of like a roving reporter interviewing Trump fanatics. And almost every single thing that comes out of these people's mouths are sound bites. They're not even their own thoughts. They're just regurgitated sound bites of 45. And
oh, wow. They're just parroting what they heard.
Yeah, they're just parroting what they heard. And he asks them about certain specific things, like, what do you know about ISIS? What do you know about, the birther issue with Obama? What do you know about this or that? And they don't really think for themselves. It's just every single thing is just a parroted soundbite of what they heard on Fox or any Fox affiliates, or from McEnany, or from Sarah, the other press secretary.
Oh, Sarah Sanders? Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah. Was it Sanders?
She was, I believe, the first press secretary.
No, there was one before him. Her. There was.
Sean Spicer?
Sean Spicer. Yeah. So whatever Spicer said, or or the other two women that became press secretaries, or even like Kellyanne,
Kellyanne Conway.
Kellyanne Solis McGee, that every single thing is a bombardment of the same message. It's always, in marketing, if you repeat something 3 times or more, it is said to be something that sticks with somebody, like a jingle or a phrase or a slogan or a logo.
I agree with that. That's usually 3 is usually a good number for committing something to memory, either by seeing it, hearing it, or right. Another Babylon 5 connection. It just doesn't ever stop.
Nope.
So to attribute to the quote about truth, a lot of people are saying Sheridan. Super Dave says Sinclair, I think. We'll have to look that up and catch up on it later.
Yeah. Now I have to start my rewatch of Babylon 5 because my memory's starting to fail in my old age.
Oh, speaking of which, if anybody does not know, it's going to be on HBO Max starting January 26th. So if you've got that service or want to sign up for that service, it's supposed to have the more upscaled iTunes version that looks really pretty.
Oh, good.
I might have to succumb and get HBO Max just for that and West Wing.
Yeah, because the Amazon stream was horrible. Absolute garbage.
It sucks because so many people did watch the show for the first time on Amazon Prime simply because it was available, but that was the worst freaking quality they could have possibly put out.
Well, all of it. And not just Babylon 5, I'm watching Deep Space Nine for mission log on that. The quality's horrible.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
okay, so don't watch on Amazon Prime, huh?
The CBS streaming for that isn't that much better either. They're using the lowest, tangent. They're using the lowest quality so they could stream the highest amount for the least amount of data server. It's a thing. Right?
Come on. Yeah. Amazon is one of the richest companies in the world. Don't be cheap. Jeez. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm looking in the comments. Ben, to answer your question, did we get the recent series of Spitting Image? I do not know what that is. I have no idea if we do. Do you know?
I love Spitting Image.
Okay, there's your answer.
So, Spitting Image, the first time I was ever introduced to Spitting Image was a Genesis video called Land of Confusion. And it's basically kind of like these hyper stylized caricatures of celebrities or politicians. So you can get away with, parodying them and lampooning them because, they're caricatures, and much like Saturday Night Live, but it's pretty extreme when it comes to Spitting Image. So they do a lot of political material too.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. I love British TV. I'll have to check that out.
Might be on BritBox. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, that and Canadian TV. They're just killing it up north. We're going through Schitt's Creek right now, which I know I'm a little late on the curve with that one, but what a great show.
It's brilliant. Absolutely
Having a great time watching it. That's how I'm unplugging at the end of the day, is watching 2 episodes of Schitt's Creek while we eat dinner. I've lost my ability to speak.
So the revolution that's kind of like happening right now, with on both sides, because obviously you had the revolution for the Trump party on January 6th, where they tried to intimidate the United States Congress into whatever their agenda was. We're not really clear about that yet. Because
it sounds like it was a little mixed up. Some people were there just for a protest, and other folks were there to do far more sinister things.
Yeah, and we all know that there was, and I'm not going to say this as fact because I'm not news, but what I do know that the news reported is that there were allies inside the Capitol that allowed the protesters access to what is usually a very secure, locked down building.
Yeah. If anything, that was maybe the most shocking part, was that they got into the building at all. Yeah. Like, really?
So we have revolutionaries on one side, and I'm sure if we want to extrapolate what we did not see during kind of like the downfall of President Clark's regime, is we didn't see that part of the story. The only thing that we got really alluded to was whether or not Lockley was on which side. And she says, I was on the right side. I was on the side of Earth. But, that's very well possible that, you had pro-Clarkists that were trying to undermine any of the resistance on Earth. You also had, the Psi Corps that was involved because they did the backdoor dealings with Clark. But at the same time, though, you saw a lot of really serious decisions being made in the media, because Twitter and Facebook, and I'm not sure if Instagram was involved, and YouTube.
A bunch of people all
they all
banned
decided
the
to
president
lock
from
the
his
president.
media accounts. Yeah.
I mean, in the age of where like social media pretty much governs most people's ability to digest and absorb kind of like world events, however you want to, believe whether that's right or not. That's a pretty big step, just when it comes to like the repercussions of what that means. Silencing the president of the United States. What does that tell you?
I mean, yeah. And I just read a headline right before we got on the platform here that misinformation has gone way down since his accounts have been shut down. Imagine if they had taken that step before. I mean, to some extent, I understand why. And yet, it really is kind of sad that it took an attempted coup to reach the point where we're at right now, to shut down a lot of the stuff that helped this uprising in the first place. Mm-hmm. Because we have people who, they think they're the patriots. They think they're the ones who are out there to save the world by killing government officials. And here's a very weird thought that's occurred to me. Okay, I want to throw this out here. Please, this is not what I believe, but I want to put this out here. Mm-hmm. The folks who stormed the Capitol and got in and wanted to kill people and rape or whatever, they thought they were being the John Sheridan, committing an act of insurrection against their own government. They thought they were going in to save the day. Because like John Sheridan, they're fighting for what they believe at any cost, even if it's their own life. They're all too happy to go down fighting for the cause. Mm-hmm. And what they believe is 100% real to them. The difference is, of course, that John Sheridan had the truth on his side, and these guys don't.
The truth is a three-edged sword. There's your side, their side,
I believe that's in the comments
truth
somewhere today.
Yeah. I mean, I love Joe. Gosh.
There's a reason why we're doing this show. There's a reason why Babylon 5 is so beloved. Joe created something that's so built to last.
Mm-hmm. And profound and prophetic. Ben, you're absolutely right. We're all heroes in our own story, and I absolutely believe that. It doesn't, depending on like what side you're on, is really, it's either the side of history, the side of truth, but based on who you are and your perspective of that. Right. So I was talking to John Champion when we were doing Mission Log, and I do believe that Ducat thinks he's the hero.
Of course he
is
does.
The hero of his story. He's the savior of Cardassia.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter how many planets or systems or, relationships or deals that he makes with the Dominion. He's doing it because he believes he's doing the right thing. Kywin as well. Every villain believes that they're the hero of their own story, including the Proud Boys, including Trump. They believe that they're doing what's right for the country.
Yeah.
And they're doing so because they feel like they have nothing to lose. When you have people that think that they have nothing to lose, the desperation of trying to do what they want to do, it really does supersede all logic and morality.
100%. And that was another connection I hadn't made with John Sheridan, was he actually says to Kosh at one point, I've got nothing to lose. Heck, my own government's out to kill me. Mm-hmm. If you ask these guys what they think, they'd probably say something similar.
Mountains of Elysium, this is an interesting thing that she posted. I believe. Right?
I think he.
Sorry,
I could be wrong. Mountains of Elysium said.
Mountains of Elysium said. I'm not going to do the pronoun thing because I'm not good at it. I wouldn't have banned him because I have used social media to talk with the far right. They don't like me because I'm in a mixed race marriage, but I have managed to get through to some of them. And, that's absolutely, I agree with what you're saying here, because there are people, and I don't know why, but they voted for Trump because of party and not because of person. Trump still is. Mm-hmm. Remember, he's not just the president, but he was the Republican nominee for the party to become president. So in order for people to still continue the conservative Republican agenda, whatever that means now, whether it is they believe
that's another thing, isn't it?
right? Whether it's to believe in the tax program or being pro-life or being all of the platform ideals that the conservatives and the Republicans stand for, you have to vote for him, or you have to at least make sure that your party ideals are protected and supported. I get that. I understand that. But it's what you didn't understand about Trump becoming a legitimate and effective and a president, a well-rounded president that can stand on the world stage and represent this country. How do you not reconcile the fact that this man who had his own TV show that showed who his personality was has had failed business after business after business? The interview that he had with Billy Bush that was on a hot mic, grabbing women by the P word. How do you not know that this guy is not going to become worse because his megalomaniac personality is going to use the politics and the position of his seat in the most abusive way possible? How do you not know that that's going to happen? How can you be shocked that it's not going to get worse from day one to day end of this presidency?
Yeah, honestly, giving somebody like that more power, it is only going to make things worse. And Mountains of Elysium, who is he? Married to an Ecuadorian woman.
I apologize for any insensitivity.
Yes. I'm glad you've had some luck reaching out and making an actual connection and saying, look, I'm harmless. You know what I mean? Like showing your humanity and actually reaching out and showing people like, look, this isn't that bad. It's okay. If you like me, you know what I mean? But a lot of times on social media, here's my argument against, I guess, playing a little bit of devil's advocate, is a lot of times that doesn't happen. People don't want to hear what they don't want to hear, don't want to see it. And maybe you'd get through anyway, which is, I don't know, maybe you can tell me that's why you do it. But I very rarely have had a productive, like political, religious, any kind of very divisive conversation on platforms like Twitter or especially Facebook. Heck, I can't even talk about Star Trek on Facebook without it just devolving into a massive fight. It's ridiculous. It's kind of what our culture has succumbed to. And it's really, I found it very non-productive. So I'm glad you've had a different experience, and I'm glad you are out there, because we do need to maybe, I don't know, be a little more just out there, speaking the truth and showing the truth, regardless of the reaction. I don't know. What do you all think about that?
I like what Mountain said here. A lot of those who voted for Trump act like Lord Rifa. They used Trump because they felt he could do more damage than to the other party, not caring about his flaws. Great observation.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Those are probably the down ballot voters, right? Who are loyal to party over anything else. And that's also bad. I mean, we really do need a more diverse political party system in this country, where we shouldn't just be forced to choose between one lousy party and one that maybe it might be a little less lousy depending on which one it is at the time. No, I'm sorry. It's much more complicated than that. And a lot of people do get kind of disenfranchised with voting just because they don't feel like they are being represented. And I think a lot of that has to do with the two-party political system.
Well, I mean,
what you actually want is not being represented entirely.
Taking it back to like Babylon 5, you make a great point here, Char, and this is something that I believe in wholeheartedly, is that the majority of the people in the United States aren't represented by either party because both parties represent capitalism. And the majority of the people that basically are the backbone of the United States, very, very hard workers, people that are parts of unions, people that are, they work really, really hard hours for really, really low pay and very, very bad benefits. Those are the workers of the United States. There is no workers' party in the United States that represents their needs. Now, there is an extremist socialist side of the Democratic Party with, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And she is leaning a lot more towards, say, Marxian philosophy when it comes to socialism that benefits more of what the workers should be represented by. And that is an interesting extremist look at moving towards something that's not so centric left as opposed to extreme left, because the workers of this, I mean, you saw it, like most of the tensions that came out during Black Lives Matter is because you had so many people that have been under the pressure of losing their jobs, at the beginning of this year, beginning of last year, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, racial inequality, financial inequality, sexual inequality, every single possible level of a way to keep people oppressed.
Right. Keep them
And
down.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they, not on top of that, without the ability of having somebody either at the state, local, or federal level to be on their side about this, to represent them in some way. If for anything, at least the way that they came back to work, getting them back to be able to do something that they feel that, they're doing that honest, hard work for an honest day's pay. I do believe that there are a lot of people in this country that still believe in that. And that's all they want. They want that part of the American dream that is protected, the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness by being able to do that, being able to have a job and being able to create a life for their families, with religious freedom, with sexual freedom, with racial equality, with racial freedom. That's what the United States is or was,
Right. It's this idea that we've heard our whole lives that we really want to buy into. But yeah, right now, the circumstances really don't let that happen for a lot of people. And people are tired. The more people have to struggle just for mere survival, much less any kind of luxuries whatsoever, you're going to get some very tired and angry and worn down, emotionally, on point people. Because you can only take so much as a human being.
Yeah.
Oh, Ben has a very good question. By extreme left, do you mean social services like in Sweden/Finland?
Well, I mean, I think when it comes to AOC and maybe some people that are leaning a little bit more towards what she's saying, it's a little bit more Marxian in terms of that, like, economic theory, social theory, socialists theory, like leaning more towards actual, pre-Stalin communism, because it's about having the workers represented to a point where, they are being paid not a livable wage. Remember, minimum wage. Minimum wage doesn't mean the minimum amount of money that labor is worth. Minimum wage means the minimum amount of money that corporation is willing to pay you for your work labor.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Your labor, your intellectual labor, your physical labor, your emotional labor is all worth more than just the minimum wage that you're being paid for. So I think that she's, and people again that are leaning more towards that, understand that, when Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto, he was leaning more towards a fairer way of being able to have workers represented with not such a life-crushing work week, with the ability to be able to have or pay into a system that, provides the basics of life: healthcare, education, housing.
Yeah. Well, and to that question, I would love to see the United States go more toward, as a first step, things like the Scandinavian countries, where they do, their citizens are given a heck of a lot more than we are as far as workers' rights, social services, if you will. That alone would be a vast improvement over what we have right now. But we do need to, I guess, stop thinking that capitalism is the only way and realize that socialism/communism are not bad words.
Not, yeah. And in
terms of system and doing it right.
The generations that, we could go on an entire tangent about that, and I don't want to really get that political on it, but it's let's take, for example, the Great Council, because the Great Council was very much like where we're at right now. You basically, in the Great Council, you had 9 representatives of the Minbari culture, 3 of the worker caste, 3 of the religious caste, 3 of the warrior caste. For most of Babylon 5, it was always the religious caste versus the warrior caste, 2 parties, right? All vying for the dominance of whose part of the culture is going to reign supreme. But what I loved about the reconciliation of that is that it's always the religious tell where the religious tell where the warriors are going to fight and why is a holy cause.
Mm-hmm.
The warriors need ships, weapons, and the war machine in order to fight for that
They need
holy
their tools.
cause. The workers don't have any decision-making power in that.
No, it's like, go make the things because we told you so. Workers' rights, that's what was so great about Delenn reconstructing the Nine, the Grey Council, to give them the power they long were overdue.
And much like By Any Means Necessary, which is one of my favorite episodes, you had a really nice representation or just like this microscopic look at what happens if the Babylon 5 station, which is an active working, station of commerce, what happens if that goes to pieces, right?
Right. Yeah, and pure and utter chaos is what happens.
Exactly.
But
dock workers' rights, that was a really, great topic to tackle, because most of the time in science fiction, you don't really talk about that. You're either going to have robots that take over like dock workers. They're going to, robots don't need to get paid or fed or blah, 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 blah. So that can go all the way down the rabbit hole. But I do like Ben said here, hell, guys, I am not wanting to diss the U.S., no diss here.
Oh, please diss. We're awful.
I work 37.5 hours a week and get 27 days plus bank holidays vacation.
Yeah.
And it works.
Imagine that you actually get to, you do your job, you get to live a decent life, you have enough leisure time to go out and appreciate the fruits of your labor. Mm-hmm. That's how it should be for everybody, in my opinion.
Mound says, no one philosophy has the answer. You need a mixture of capitalism, socialism, distributism, etc., to find the best balance to do the most good. It is really a balance of how to offer somebody the ability to live a proper and decent life. Right. And that's the thing, is that it's not so much about who makes the most or who has the most representation. It's about wealth equality.
Right, which we don't have anymore. I mean, capitalism has run amok. We've got super freaking rich, and we've got people who can't even hardly afford to eat. Right, and that's not cool.
And it's not even really represented that well in, say, Star Trek anymore, because Star Trek has ever since probably late Next Generation, and definitely in Deep Space Nine, you're dealing. Are we off topic? I don't know. Maybe.
This is kind of an offshoot, yeah. But no, these are things that matter to us. I mean, we're having a very good conversation about it. Super Dave, you're in Canada, correct? Yeah. So it sounds like, I mean, I shouldn't say this. I've always thought Canada is kind of like United States light. Like what happens to us follows in Canada. And it sounds like, our systems are so similar. It sounds like you're going down the same slippery slope we are.
So in the last couple
livable wages.
In the last couple of minutes here, let's bring it back on topic. So what do we do now? It's kind of like,
yes.
John Sheridan, we're at that moment, at the point of no return, where John Sheridan or us, because I think we all have, John Sheridan in us as revolutionaries, or at least people who believe that we're defending the right and true moral way. What do we do now, and how do we do it? When is the Agamemnon going to charge in and take out all of the scorched earth platforms? Because that's what Trump is doing. In the last few weeks of his presidency, he literally turned the defense systems on Earth, those satellites were the Proud Boys, and started firing on his own people.
I'm hoping we're not going to get part 2 of that this week. And this brings up a question I have. Who in the Babylon 5 universe are Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in this? Because I don't want them to be the ones storming in and to save it all, because that's way too much responsibility. They've got enough work to do as it is. But also, I don't believe in the savior syndrome thing. So where do they fit in this? Who are they?
Well, I think that we have to go back to, just more of our leadership. Leadership is going to get us through this, but the thing is that we all have, it all stems from, in my opinion, it really does all stem from the vote. Now, I know that sounds probably cliche and maybe a little pie in the sky, but it does. If you do not exercise your right to vote, you basically disavow your right to change, because that is something that, at least in the United States, I'm talking about the United States, that is as a right, as a citizen. If you do not exercise your civic duty, then you do not change anything. Even if it doesn't change in your favor, you change nothing.
Right.
So
you didn't participate.
and if one person thinks that way, then when you get 100 people don't change anything, 1,000 people don't change anything, 10,000 people don't change anything. But what did Delenn say? When you throw a pebble into the water, the ripples, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ripples reach out and create change into other ripples. When she was looking at, and this is going all the way back to the gathering. So if I'm not on topic, I don't know what is. But all the way to the gathering, when Delenn, and this is like weird androgynous Delenn,
Yes,
is looking at the sand sculpture or the sand pool with Sinclair. Drop a pebble into the water and it creates ripples. These are those ripples. These are those ripples.
And so we can't just count on Biden and Harris to make those ripples. We can all do it.
No, they
in
don't
whatever ways we can.
I mean, they didn't get into the situation they're in now. They did not become president and vice president elect without the votes.
Right. So our pebbles cast the vote.
Mm-hmm.
It was not too late for the pebbles to vote.
It's right. It's not too late for the pebbles to vote.
We did vote. We did say our piece, and so they are going to be the president and vice president. You know who I think Kamala Harris is? She's Susan Ivanova.
Yeah.
Which would make Sheridan, like, I'm thinking maybe like season 2 or season 3, John Sheridan. That would be Biden. Because I don't want him to like storm in on the white horse and save everybody. That can't happen. It's not going to work out that way.
I don't think at his age he's storming anything. So
nobody is going to storm in on the Agamemnon and shoot everything down. We are going to very slowly, far slower of a process than we want it to be, have to dismantle all the things that are wrong right now.
Yeah. And I think that just because, this is far more complex, just in terms of being able to unravel this Gordian knot of a political situation, it's not really going to hinge on one person. It's not going to hinge on, this, like you said, like the savior, the savior icon, the savior character. We all have to fight for the right thing, what we believe is the right thing. And again, this is all a matter of perspective because, 3 doors down in another house, someone could be flying a Trump flag. So like, nope,
exactly.
America.
Like we were saying earlier, they think they're the hero. They think they're John Sheridan too. Mm-hmm. But I would love to think, and I think it's true, that we outnumber them and that truth does win. Science wins. Facts win. Love wins. In the end, it always does triumph. We always, it's never a linear thing. We have our ups and downs. It ebbs and it flows. We've been down for a little while. Now we got to come back up.
I think that, and this isn't necessarily Babylon 5. I think actually it's a great line from The Dark Knight, the second Batman movie by Christopher Nolan. And the character who eventually becomes Two-Face, he says that, it's like either you're the hero or you stand by long enough just to become the villain. You can't just sit back and do nothing. Right.
Because, in our world, we say to those people, you're complicit.
Mm-hmm.
So I say to those who are afraid of our mob boss who's bullying everybody, you got to take a stance sometime. Why not now?
Right. And that is really where, like John Sheridan says, when he took off his uniform, when he says that I'll put this back on again when it means something, and he never did.
No.
Because it didn't mean anything to him anymore. But he made that stance. He took something off, like in the ritual, he says that he has to sacrifice something that means something to him. And it did. But he made the stance. He made the choice to fight for something he believed in. And he believed in the truth. He believed in that there is something that is a cancer at the very heart of the government that he loves. So he has to take action. We all have to take action, and how do we do that? You can do again with the vote, but you can do it by making sure that at the state level, at the city level, at the town level, at your local level, you're seeing progression in the bills that are being passed, in the representation that you need, in the local government that you can try and help to steer. That's what I think really needs to happen. It doesn't necessarily have to happen at the galactic core level. It happens at the small desert farm level. That's Star Wars for you. But
oh, there's also another great quote in the comments from Star Wars from Patrick. Rise of Skywalker, they win by making you think you're alone. There are more of us.
Right.
So true. So true. Terry Lynn also has a great thing about, sure, they have the right to think what they want, believe what they want, and what have you. They do not have the right to incite violence. I totally agree with that. Maybe that is maybe that's why January 6th was such a cutoff point for a lot of people.
Right.
Where, okay, now you have gone too far because you have the right to live.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to protest, legitimately protest, right? You have that right. Yeah. That is protected. That is protected under the First Amendment.
That's right.
And the right to an assembly, to create an assembly, that is protected under the Constitution. But it doesn't say like create an assembly and then attack the government.
No, that does not qualify.
Right. Or again, so there has been some very significant stark changes that are happening, and stay tuned. We may report back on this later on after January 20th and see, if this is the year that we took back what was ours.
Yeah. Yeah. We may have to revisit this in time, depending on what happens. And of course, as the year goes on, we've got to get back to some hardcore topics and just some fun topics too. We got to alleviate here and there too.
Yeah, we're going to get back to true form. I'm back. Char's back.
Yes. And, thank goodness. It's been so nice, you guys. Thank you all for tuning in and sticking around on top of that.
Yes, absolutely. We're so glad to have pretty much everyone back after such a long hiatus. And maybe we all needed a long hiatus just to kind of reset and refresh and, get our feet underneath us. But I really do hope that everyone out there is staying safe and making good choices. I know it's a very difficult time. It really is. And believe me, I was terrified having to go through airports and fly and go into hotel rooms. I mean, it wasn't easy, but, in life, we all have to choose what needs to be done. We all have to choose what we believe is right. And we have to make sure that we just don't say, but we do. And, that's right. And I think
never lose hope.
Never lose hope.
Hope is all we have sometimes. But you know what? I'd like to think that we're going in now with a little more than hope.
Yeah, well, everything remains to be seen. Just because we have a new president doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go the way that we think it's going to go.
It's also not going to magically reverse everything and go the way we want it to go. Right. But you know what? I don't know. I'm
cautiously optimistic.
That you're stealing my phrase. I say that all the time, but I love it. Yes, it's so true. So true. We packed a lot into this hour. We could say so much more. I mean, this is not an easy topic. There's so many facets of it we could have gone into, but we got to close up the show. Yeah, we can take the conversation, however, into the Discord. If you're not in Discord, I have a link now in the chat. That's an invite code that'll last 24 hours from the time that I posted it. If for whatever reason you can't encounter this after that 24-hour period and you want in, you can hit us up on Twitter. Norm and I can get you a special code. Then my handle is the Profanity. And Norm, where can they find you?
You can find me at Lounge Lizard. That's LAONGE Lizard.
Yeah. So hit us up and please join in the fun on the Discord. We have great conversations there. Sometimes we're hot and on fire. Other times it's a little quiet, but don't worry, we're not going anywhere. We're still there. We're still around.
Yep. So thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks for giving up your time on your Sunday. We really do appreciate it. We are so grateful that you decided to come back after, like I said, the long hiatus that we had, and we guarantee that we will have some new content, some fresh content, some fantastic conversations, and maybe a surprise or two along the way. So thank you so much. Char, anything, any last minute words before we close the show?
Nah, I think we're good. Except maybe we'll see you next week.
All right. Hang in there, people. It's going to be okay. Just stay strong, stay healthy, stay safe. Yep. And make sure that you come back for the next chat. Okay. So.
Right. We don't want anybody dropping off the radar here.
All right. Until next time, be seeing you.
Bye, everybody.